Hey everyone, Mike here, welcome back to my channel, thank you very much for being here. Please hit that subscribe button below, check out some of my other videos. I do videos on pop culture, being movies, TV shows, games, music, and more, so I'd love for you to subscribe and check out some of my other videos. Today I want to talk about just one of the weirdest new albums of the last 3 to 5 years for me. I don't think I've ever heard an album that is this like strange conceptually and musically. And that album is Coldplay's newest studio album, their 9th studio album, Music of the Spheres. Let's talk about this. Okay, so I feel as though Coldplay slowly built themselves up to be one of the biggest and best like rock or alternative rock bands in the world. And they've had so many great songs, whether it be Yellow, Fix You, The Scientist, Paradise, Magic. There's a ton of incredible Coldplay songs out there. And as I said, this is their 9th studio album, Music of the Spheres. I've kind of dropped off on Coldplay the last few years. I haven't really checked out much of their new stuff. The last album of theirs that I remember really liking was Milo's Lotto, which was probably around 2010 or 2011 from memory. It was the follow-up to Viva La Vida, and like stylistically it changed up a lot. It was much more like these really spiky, gritty synth kind of sounds, this like electro pop rock. And I really enjoyed that. I thought Milo's Lotto had some great tracks, and it was really refreshing to hear that from them. They had collaborations with Rihanna, and they just had some great pop songs on that album. Don't get me wrong, I really liked their previous 2 albums, Viva La Vida and A Rush of Blood to the Head. Of course, those had songs like The Scientist and Clocks and Viva La Vida and Violet Hill, all of which are great songs. And this snowballing to success for Coldplay, I feel over time, has been really interesting to watch, because they've certainly kind of taken on a bunch of new risks with what they do. And just, I feel like when rock bands start to feel like they're amongst the biggest acts in the world, they start to just do some weird things. For example, when U2 decided to gift everyone their new album on iPhones for free when they put that out, and that was a really controversial move. And I guess that's kind of how I felt about Coldplay post Milo's Lotto. Like, I just felt as though they were doing this weird experimental crap, and it wasn't really about the music anymore. It was more about the showmanship and the live concerts, which is completely fine, I suppose. But for me, I just didn't feel like any of their newer albums captured the spirit of those older albums, which is a very cliche thing to say about a rock band, I suppose. And the 2 albums that precede Music of the Spheres, which are A Head Full of Dreams and Everyday Life, I have not listened to at all. Like, I don't think I've even listened to them fully through. Didn't care about them at all, and probably won't listen to them. But I definitely had to check out Music of the Spheres, because it's just one of the most incredible, like, conceptual albums ever. It just kind of makes me laugh. Here's some context on this album for you. Music of the Spheres is a space-themed concept album. It is set in a fictional planetary system called the Spheres, which contains 9 planets. And I actually really like concept albums and when artists try to do this kind of thing, so I'm kind of open to it. But you've got to admit, this is some of the most, like, aggrandizing stuff ever. Like, I'm gonna make a space album about a fictional galaxy and fictional planets. Wow. According to the lead singer Chris Martin, its concept and themes were inspired by the Star Wars film franchise, which made him wonder what other artists could be like across the universe. And I love the idea that Chris Martin is sitting at home watching Star Wars and the Cantina band comes on and he's like, wow, I want to make music like that. And that's not actually a joke, by the way. Like, Chris Martin has actually said that the theme for the album was inspired after watching the fictional Mos Eisley Cantina band perform in Star Wars and making speculations in relation to outer space sounds. And even though I think that this is really stupid and funny, I still admire this ambition to create something like this. Like I think we can agree that it actually is really cool when albums create stories and worlds and are conceptualized around a theme. And I think this theme actually is really fun. Like, I think there is a lot you can do with this. And that's kind of where the music comes into it, because this is a pretty hit and miss album, but it's definitely worth a listen. Like, it's definitely really interesting to listen to this album and what they came up with. And stylistically, this is actually probably the closest that Coldplay has been to the sound of Milo Zalotto, one of my favorite Coldplay albums since that album. Like, it is again very synthy, very pop oriented, and lots of like, you know, electric drums and experimental vocal lines and things like that. One of the main things that solidifies this album as extremely wanky is the fact that a bunch of the tracks on this album are named as emojis. For example, we have the planet emoji, the star emoji, the love heart emoji, the world emoji, and the infinity sign emoji. And I really do think that this kind of suggests that Chris Martin may or may not have lost the plot. Like, this has got to be, like, I know they think that, oh, we'll name our songs emojis. No one's done that before. That'll be so cool. How crazy will that be? I know they think that that's the case, but it really does just come across as really wanky. Like, who's going to be like, hey, I've heard the new Coldplay album. Oh, how good is Earth Emoji? That's a great song. I love Earth Emoji and Planet Emoji as well. I love those songs. And if you look at the track listing on the Wikipedia page, these songs actually do have titles, but I guess the fact that they're stylized with emojis is just so weird to me. Such a strange decision to make to try and be cool and unique and different. That being said, I really like a lot of the songs on the album. There's a lot of like short interlude-y kind of songs, but the lead single, Higher Power, I think is a really classic Coldplay kind of song. It really feels like Coldplay. It's really pop-centric. It's got a great chorus. I find this song really, really fun. There are collaborations on this album, possibly most notably with both Selena Gomez and BTS, which kind of makes me feel as though Coldplay want to expand their audience and become relevant to a younger generation. And the thing is, I really like the songs. I think Selena Gomez melds really well with Chris Martin's vocals on her track, better than I think Rihanna did on their song Princess of China with Coldplay back on Milo Zalotto. I think Selena Gomez really fits and I love the song, but I still think it's funny that, you know, it's so clear that these people have been chosen to collaborate with because of a need to continue the band's legacy and popularity into a younger generation. Because BTS is one of the biggest Korean pop groups in the world. So, like, really, they're trying for a worldwide audience with this album, and I think that's really clever of them. And I'm not gonna lie, the song My Universe, which features BTS, is a banger. Like, I actually think this is such a fun Coldplay-ish song, and it really mixes the English language and the Korean language really well. I think this is a great single and probably will be really successful. I have no qualms or issues with that at all. However, all the songs I've talked about so far are definitely the more safe songs. They're pretty conventionally structured. They follow a pretty simple musical format and they don't really experiment too much. They're pretty standard kind of Coldplay songs and I think they fit really well. It's other tracks such as track 8, Beautiful, where they actually start experimenting and taking this space thing really seriously, where they essentially have like Chris Martin in an Alvin and the Chipmunks style vocal, like a high-pitched vocal singing the first verse, then Chris Martin singing the second verse in his own voice, and then them singing together. And it's this weird mesh of like Western electronic pop music and like almost like a Bollywood sounding melody, which is really weird and I don't think fits at all. And I understand that conceptually this album is, whoa, what would music sound like in outer space, in other universes? And cool, that is cool, but you know, this isn't a sci-fi film, this is an album. So like, to me, I don't like this song at all. In fact, I really don't like it. I hate it. And I want to skip it every time I turn it on. The final song on the album, Coloratura, is a 10-minute song. So the album's only 41 minutes, right? There's 10 minutes at the end, which is Coloratura, which is like, I don't know how you want to describe this. It's like a medley of a bunch of different instrumental ideas and things. It's sort of like Jesus' Suburbia. Not really like that at all, but it's just a long song, a long track that consists of like different parts that may as well be smaller tracks, but they've just decided, no, It's a full track. This is a 10-minute track at the end of the album. And it goes in so many different directions, following on from the Infinity Sign song that is like an electronic build-up to it. This song, Coloratura, or whatever it's called, or however you pronounce it, goes in so many directions. Like it ends up with this almost like fairy tale piano little bit. I like it as the end of the album, but at the same time, I don't know if it really fits on the rest of the album. Like, hey, we've done all these weird songs and now we're just doing a 10-minute mismatch of like all the ideas that we couldn't work into the album in this final thing. And I like this as a track. I like this as a 10-minute thing, but I don't know how it fits with the album. And most of the time, I feel like that rings true with me listening to this album. Most of the time, I just felt like, what is this? Like, what is the point of this? And then I remember that the point of this is that it's an album about what music would sound like in outer space, inspired by the Cantina band from Star Wars. And then I just realize how stupid this whole thing is. And then I'm like, okay, I like the song Higher Power. I like the song My Universe. There's a bunch of other songs that are cool, including the Selena Gomez one. The song that's after Higher Power, I think it's called Humankind, I like as well, but it has these weird robotic experimental things at the top. But I guess as an album, this is weird. Like, this is a weird album. It's really strange. It's definitely one of the weirdest albums of the last few years. It's such a, like, and of course Coldplay would do this. Of course they would. Why wouldn't you do an album like this if you were Coldplay? Like, it's gonna sell, people are gonna hear it, you have the pull power to get people like Selena Gomez and BTS, because why wouldn't they want to collaborate with Coldplay? And I guess I'm okay with Coldplay being a band that does experimental stuff like this in the future, and it feels like this is the pinnacle of where Coldplay has been heading for the past 10 years. Like, from Milo's Lotto, which was a huge departure from like Viva La Vida and A Rush of Blood to the Head, right? I feel like that album was like, okay, now we're going slowly down this road. And Music of the Spheres is the culmination of all of this experimentation over the years. This is an interesting album. I don't give numerical scores. I will listen to it again. I like a lot of the tracks on it, but it's very weird. It's a very strange album. But listen to it. Let me know what you think. Also, let me know your favorite song from this album and your favorite Coldplay song in general. Check out some of my other music reviews and music videos on my channel. For example, there's a Green Day side project that you probably don't know about. Check out that video. And just check out my channel. I do a podcast on here. I put a bunch of content up. I'd love for you to be a subscriber and check out some of my stuff. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought. I'll see you in the next video. Catch you later.
But I went to run my hand through your hair and I noticed you were attached to string. You were a puppet this whole time. You were attached to string.